Good morning and welcome to Like Magic. I'm your host, Taria Davis, and today we're going to be discussing my spiritual awakening. Episodes 1 through 3 mostly talked about other people's spiritual awakenings, what they thought about spiritual awakenings, but I never really went into depth about what a spiritual awakening meant to me and actually what happened to me. So that's what I plan to do today. When I was growing up, I was always drawn to the metaphysical, like science fiction and like the universe and stars and shit. Like I was always drawn into that type of stuff, superhero movies and superhero TV shows. And what was the name of that show? Bewitched, Lucy, Doctor Strange. But at the same time, I grew up in church. So I was a Christian. And not only did I grow up in the church, I was also a volunteer in the church. And I also was in what do you call those? What do you call those? A youth ministry group or something. I think that's what you call them. I was in a youth ministry group. We did volunteer work through them too. We went on a spiritual retreat. That was fun. I actually need to do that again. But with all that being said, I was still drawn to like this other side of things. In church, they would, I mean, I wouldn't say church didn't seem magical, but it just, I'm not trying to use a spiritual word to describe church, but it didn't resonate. And that's what like really pulled me more into like the science fiction side of life, because I knew that there was something greater, but what they were telling me at church, it just wasn't clicking with me. It didn't really make sense. I had too many questions and none of them were getting answered the way I needed them to get answered. So I guess that's part of why all this started happening to me. But I was always a loner. I didn't like really being around too many people. I mean, now I see why, and we're going to talk about that in later episodes with more people, but I never really had a large group of friends. If I had a group of friends, I would literally have 2 friends and that's it. Besides the me not getting the truth that I was looking for in church, I believe a few other instances or experiences helped push me down this spiritual path. I was what you would consider a karmic, and once again, that's something else we're going to talk about in later episodes. But I wasn't in touch with my emotions like at all. I lacked empathy. I didn't really give a fuck about other people's feelings. And I mean, growing up, I was a loner. I was weird, but I wasn't mean. I was always nice to people. It's like once I hit 14, 15, I don't know. I just changed. I would say probably because I don't know, you just get sick of the behavior of those around you. And just like now, like this was back then before I even went through a spiritual awakening. You are this certain type of person and you're surrounded by these other type of people, and it's almost like it's hard to be who you truly are around these people. And it just I guess after a while it just got to me to the point where I didn't care anymore and I just started doing whatever. And I would say that labeled me as a karmic. I didn't have boundaries. Like I would let people walk all over me. I didn't have self-respect. If I'm being honest, like completely 100% honest, I didn't love myself at all. Like I'm like I didn't even find myself attractive. I was really, really messed up. Um, and during that, like it led me to another experience which pushed me further into my awakening, which was, like I said before, I became this karmic individual, whatever. I was a good person. I just wasn't able to really show it because of the environments I was in, right? But I met this dude in college, and he was just like really, really nice, and not like the suck up kind of nice, the I'm trying to sleep with you kind of nice. Like he was genuinely the sweetest person I've ever met in my life. He was just so nice. And I had a crush on him too, but we're not talking about that right now. But anyway, I'm not going to talk too much about that right now, but I ended up doing some really shady things. And if they weren't intentional, I was in a dark place and I didn't understand what was happening at the time. I'm just going to be honest. Yeah, I said I had a crush on him, but he had feelings for me at the time, but I didn't know. I thought it was, um, honestly, I'm like, I don't see why he would want anything to do with me. So that brought me to the conclusion, like, he don't want nothing to do with me. I'm just making this up in my head. And yeah, so I started acting out from those thoughts. And long story short, I was leaving out of my dorm room with another guy, and he saw me, and it's like from that day forward, our friendship just, I'm not gonna say got weird. It's like he tried to avoid me, and he started ignoring me, and I started kind of acting crazy because I'm like, no, like you were the sweetest person in my life, like you can't just leave, like what the fuck. And then it just made like him, yeah. So that really caused me to take a look at who I was as a person, what the fuck I was really doing with my life, because I could honestly say I didn't really have any real friends or anybody that really had genuine intentions towards me and for me, and he did, and I fucked that up because of my thought process. So that really helped my spiritual awakening, because Jesus, I was heartless before. Like with him, I cared. Like it actually hurt my feelings to see him that day and to be with that dude at the same time. I was like, oh my God, like this is not happening. But if that happened with anybody else, I wouldn't have gave a fuck. Like if I was with him and the dude that I was with, that he called me with, and he saw me, I wouldn't have gave a fuck. If I'm being so honest, I wouldn't have cared. But yeah, that's the type of person I was, and I felt like meeting him pulled me out of that, and it needed to, because that is not, you do not treat people like that. Anyway, that sent me into a deep depression. Already, I was in college with little to no support. I didn't like, and I was like, at that time, I was already going through depression. I had dealt with depression before. I had dealt with anxiety before. I had been hospitalized before, and I wasn't really receiving the support from family that I needed to for that situation. And I was in school trying to do all this, and it was too much. And then that situation happened, and I literally could not handle life. And I gave up. I just started drinking and smoking all the time. Fuck school, fuck studying. I don't care. I just don't want to feel pain anymore. And I literally just, yeah, I got kicked out. I got kicked out. Like they literally kicked. They didn't technically say, "Oh, you can't come back," but they was like, "Well, after this semester, you have to go home, go to a community college, bring your GPA up, and then you can come back." And I never like we don't talk about that later on, but these are other issues. But that sent me into another episode of retrospection. Like, okay, I fucked this dude over. I was so petty towards him, and then I fucked up my chance for a good education, all because I can't make the right fucking decisions. But that wasn't the full story behind it, but that was like what I basically got from it during that time. And eventually I ended up having, like, I didn't have any choice but to let this dude go. So I let it go, and fucked up my life, because I made a terrible mistake after that. We not even gonna get started on that right now. But anyway, right before I made that mistake that just ruined everything, I actually had my like full blown spiritual awakening. What the fuck is happening to me moment. I said before that I've always been into like superhero movies and stuff like that. Um, and Doctor Strange was coming out, and this is the first Doctor Strange, and I was just so excited. I don't know, like it was like, oh my God, I cannot wait to see this. Oh my God, it looks so raw. But like I said, I was always drawn to stuff like that, and it was like, oh my God, I wonder if I could do that one day. I wonder if that's possible. Like, so I eventually was able to watch it, and I remember that night I watched it. Shit got so weird. Oh my God, 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 oh my God. How do I explain this? So I hope everybody who is gonna hear this or is listening on the live have watched Doctor Strange or at least know what goes on in the movie. I don't know. But you know when you close your eyes and it's just like it's just black. It's just black nothing, just black nothingness, right? This night after watching that movie, I closed my eyes, bro. I'm so serious. But that same black space that I would normally see when I close my eyes, it would normally it would be like you can sense that it's not vast. It's only the space within your head. Like it's just a small contained space. And that's what it always seemed like. But that night I was trying to go to sleep and it like that small space, like it always was there and it just blew open and I'm like, I was so scared. Like it went from being like this black space that's around the size of my head to this black space where I cannot find the end to. And after that, then I started seeing all these colorful ass lights. And this is with my eyes closed, trying to fall asleep. And it was just bright neon lights. And I'm like, what is going on? Am I dying? Is this what dying feels like? I honestly thought I was dying. But I got myself together and I'm like, okay, a lot of this stuff, this is, oh my God, the movie. And then I started thinking about all the stuff that I think her name was the Ancient One was saying to Doctor Strange. And I remember seeing the book with the chakra system like that. For some reason, that still is like, I can see the picture so clearly still to this day. Like that stuck out to me like, bam. But that's when oh my God, it did not get easier from there. It did not get less scary from there. It did not get any normal. Like my life has not been normal since that fucking night. I woke up the next day and I'm so serious. I was no longer able to eat meat. It's just my body had gave up the ability to accept meat for some reason. I tried to eat some nachos that I had just bought the night before. I ate one or two chips and went to sleep. And I got back up the next day and I tried to eat them and instantly threw it up. And then I tried to eat, I think it was some tacos and then later on that day. And then I threw that up too. But I wasn't sick. And I'm like, why can't I keep, what is going on? To be honest, I still don't realize, maybe it was a download, but I don't know what brought me to the conclusion, like, I can't eat meat. But my body just was not having it. But I didn't have any problem with vegetables. So that happened. I'm telling you, like, this is nothing is normal about this. Nothing is simple about this. And I know it sounds crazy. And that's the reason for this podcast, because I want other people to know that they are not crazy, that this is actually a real thing, that this actually happens to people. Anyway, when shit started going down, I mean, down, the chakra system thing, spoke about remembering the picture from the book in the Doctor Strange third eye scene. Kundalini awakening, we're going to talk about that in later episodes, but it's basically your chakra system coming online. And that was happening to me. And I literally felt bursts of energy throughout my body. And I'm like, it feels like I thought I was possessed by a fucking demon or something. Because, in movies, it's like whatever the spirit or whatever comes from your chest or whatever, I guess. But I literally felt energy rising from like the bottom of my back all the way up. And I didn't know what was going on at the time. So I honestly thought I was possessed for real. So I had my mother move into my room and sleep in my bed with me for about a month and a half because I was scared. I was scared to be alone. I didn't know what the fuck was going on to me. With me, to me, around me. Oh my God. And then stuff started randomly catching on fire and blowing up around me. And that's like, that was like, ugh. It's still kind of hard to accept now because that's wild. It's just weird, really, really weird instances. Um, so after all this stuff started happening around me, it was time to research. It was time to figure out what was actually going on. I needed answers, like right now. I need to know what the hell is going on with me because they was not talking about this in church. So during this deep dive, I started researching spiritual awakenings, Kundalini awakenings, astral projection, spiritual powers, universal powers, third eye opening, the pineal gland. And once I started learning more about how the gland worked and how I need to change my diet to decalcify my pineal gland, we're going to talk about that in later episodes. I actually need to add that to my topic list. It gets kind of weird talking about it, even telling people, like talking to anybody about this is really weird. Like expressing, hey, everything that you think you know, you do not know. Everything that you think is real is not real. For real, for real. Like I thought this before all of this spiritual stuff started happening to me, and now I have like 500,000% proof that it's just. But anyway, I started practicing manipulation of energy. There was this video that was teaching about Reiki healing, and it was talking about praying and setting your intentions and picturing a ball of energy in between your hands and shaping it into the point where you actually feel the energy between your hands and your hands start to heat up and stuff like that. I started doing those type of practices. I started building my intuition, or the word I don't like to use, my psychic abilities, like basically guessing stuff, but always being right. Example, I remember while I was still in that apartment, I was in my mother's room and we were watching TV. My sister came in. She was emotional. She said she was hungry, but she didn't know what she wanted to eat. I touched her stomach and I saw a picture of a taco. I didn't say anything though, because this is when I like, how do I tell my family that this crazy shit is happening to me? But after she stopped crying, she's like, I want some tacos. I look at her and I'm like, are you serious? She's like, yeah, what? But that was one of the instances where I practiced my psychic abilities. My brother was around me a lot during this time because I smoked weed, he smoked weed. So we have our sessions in my room because I built my room after the spiritual awakening. I needed to feel safe. And I started learning about spirits and stuff and people carrying bad spirits and stuff. So I made sure to clean the energy in my room. Feng Shui is a real thing. I got everything together. So it always felt fresh and free. And like people actually, I've had guests come over and they're like, it just feels so free and clean in your room. Yes, because I keep the energy up in here because this is where I have to fucking sleep. But I would practice stuff with him, like with cards. He had him pull a card and I try to guess it, or have him guess a number and have him think of a number and I guess it. Stuff like that, just small stuff, because I wasn't really sure what was going on. But over time, I eventually started realizing that, because when I first started going through this journey and then like extraordinary things started happening to me and around me, a lot of videos and a lot of different blogs and a lot of different people kept saying, well, you'll be able to do this, but you won't be able to do that. That's not really real. That's science fiction. That's fake. That's exaggerations. And I honestly believe that. And once I stopped believing that, shit actually started happening for real. Like, no, that's not fake. That's a real thing. That's not fake. That's a real thing. That's not fake. That's also a real thing. Um, I got one more example I wanted to add before I got into closing. Um, Another, like one of the scariest parts or scariest experiences I had at the beginning of my journey was I went to hang out with my brothers at my brother's apartment, which was down the street from where I was at. And we were playing some game on his PlayStation. I don't remember. But some dude came over and he was speaking to everybody. He seemed nice. But once he left, I asked my oldest brother, I'm like, who was that? And then he's like, oh, well, that's so and so. And I'm like, I just got a real bad vibe when he was up in here. And I'm like, ugh, I was just telling him, like, I just didn't feel right around him. And then my brother was like, oh, he's cool, he's good. He's been around for a long time. He known y'all when y'all was babies and this, that, and the other. So I'm like, okay, cool. A few days later, I found out that he was killed, actually, like in a terrible type of way. And I instantly thought, like, I felt death on him. I felt death emanating from him. And that's like so creepy because it's like, they always say with great power comes great responsibility, but that's something I wasn't ready for. I didn't even know I was actually psychic yet. And it was just, could I have saved his life? Could I have done anything to stop that? I don't know. And because I didn't know what was going on at the time. So that's something that still bothers me. And if I'm going to be honest, I try to block out stuff like that because I don't want to know when stuff like that is going to happen to somebody. I don't want to be the person that has to live with that on their conscience. And then I've been in situations where I have dreams about stuff or I have quote unquote visions. We're going to talk about that in later episodes too. And I try to tell people about it or warn people, and they always look at me like I'm crazy. And it just, I don't know, it makes me not want to help people. Because yeah, I have been wrong sometimes. I'm really having a hard time explaining this in human terms. Like, how do I explain this to people who don't technically know what I'm talking about? But that's what this podcast is going to be about. I am going to talk more about my spiritual journey. It's not just going to be me interviewing other guests. I'm going to try to do more conversation style episodes too, because I don't want to seem like I know everything and I'm trying to teach you people and like you need to listen to me. No, it's not that. I want this to be an open space for people who resonate, where they can come and share their stories and they don't have to feel alone and they can know that they're not fucking going crazy, because you're not going crazy. Trust me, you're not. I mean, if you are, then we all going crazy because what the fuck? But I think that's going to wrap everything up for this episode. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you in the next episode. You see, I'm used to streaming. I was about to say I'll see you and then I'll talk to you in the next episode.